All right, take a quick look around you. The smartphone sitting right there in your pocket, the blockbuster movie you streamed last night, and honestly, maybe even the fresh produce sitting in your fridge, there is a really high chance they all trace back to the exact same place. We so often think of California just as this sunny American state, right? Palm trees, beaches, the Golden Gate Bridge. But today, we're going to completely reframe how you look at it. In this explainer, we're diving into California not just as a state, but as a global nation state hiding in plain sight. It's a place whose decisions, culture, and innovations literally influence billions of us every single day. And to really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of what we're dealing with here, we have to talk numbers. Trillions of dollars. That is the size of California's gross domestic product. I mean, think about this. If California just up and became an independent country today, its economy would instantly be the fifth largest in the entire world. It outproduces whole established nations like the UK and India. So we aren't just talking about regional wealth here. This is a massive global economic juggernaut. Which brings us to the central mystery of our deep dive today. How exactly did this happen? How did one single state end up shaping so much of the modern world? Well, it didn't happen by accident, and it for sure didn't happen overnight. It's actually a fascinating, multi-layered story of geography, human ambition, and this totally unparalleled ability to just constantly reinvent itself. So here's our blueprint for today. We're going to start with the geographic foundation, move on to cultivating cultural power, explore the Silicon Valley engine, examine its role as a global economic superpower, and finally, look at future challenges and reinvention. Let's jump right into Section 1, the geographic foundation, or as I like to call it, built on dirt and water. Long before the microchips and the movie stars, California's destiny was actually preordained by its geography. You've got an 800-mile coastline making it a natural gateway to Asia, plus incredibly diverse climates. But to make its massive, fertile Central Valley actually productive, you need water. And getting it there required one of the most complex engineering achievements on the planet. It all starts with snowfall in the Sierra Nevada mountains, which basically acts like a giant natural reservoir. As that snow melts, it rushes down, filling rivers and massive man-made reservoirs. Then, an incredibly intricate network of aqueducts transports this water hundreds of miles south to the drier regions. Finally, all that water hits the Central Valley, transforming it into one of the most productive agricultural regions on Earth, yielding crops that literally feed millions across the globe. But geography only gets you so far. California's greatest superpower might actually be its capacity for reinvention. The whole thing kicked off with the gold rush in 1848, which triggered this massive wave of global migration. Fast forward a bit to 1869, and the Transcontinental Railroad hooks it up to the rest of the country, drastically accelerating trade. Then we hit the 1930s, boom, the Hollywood Golden Age. The 1970s brought the Silicon Valley PC revolution, which leads us right up to our present era of AI and web tech. It's like whenever one era matures, California is already busy pouring the foundation for the next one. Which brings us to Section 2, cultivating cultural power and the rise of Hollywood. Because of all that year-round sunshine and those gorgeous, diverse landscapes, early filmmakers absolutely flocked to Southern California. But Hollywood didn't just entertain us, it gave California this totally unique ability to export American popular culture. I mean, the clothes you wear, the music you're listening to on your commute, the lifestyles you see portrayed on screen, so many of these are global trends born right in this one state. It is a really profound level of influence when a single state gets to dictate how billions of people dream and understand the world around them. Let's shift gears to Section 3, the Silicon Valley engine, engineering the future.
So, if Hollywood conquered the imagination, Silicon Valley came along and conquered logic, communication, and business. It's this perfectly balanced portfolio. You have cultural power shaping how we dream on one side, and technological power shaping how we actually work on the other. What used to literally just be peaceful fruit orchards transformed into the absolute beating heart of the digital revolution. Smartphones, search engines, artificial intelligence, billions of us use tools designed here every single day. There is just no other place on Earth that has this kind of simultaneous grip on both human culture and technological infrastructure. And this ecosystem doesn't just run on magic, it thrives on a highly specific functional formula. First, you've got world-class universities like Stanford and the UC system just pumping out relentless scientific research and brilliant new talent. Then you combine that with venture capitalists. These are the folks willing to fund those high-risk, crazy ideas that traditional banks would laugh out of the room, which is absolutely crucial fuel for innovation. And finally, you power the whole machine with a massive, diverse workforce drawn from all across the globe, bringing totally unique perspectives that drive creative problem solving. Now, when you smash together the storytelling of Hollywood and the innovation of Silicon Valley, what you get is called soft power. It's basically the ability to influence the world through ideas, culture, and technology rather than having to rely on economic threats or military strength. California doesn't need to force anyone to buy its exports, right? The entire world willingly lines up to watch its movies and buy its software. This grants the state a level of non-military global influence that is completely unmatched. Moving into Section 4, a global economic superpower and the resilient web. When you zoom out and look at the entire economic machine, you realize the secret to its stability is extreme diversification. We're talking technology, entertainment, agriculture, aerospace, international trade. A lot of global economies are super vulnerable because they depend almost entirely on one thing, like oil or manufacturing. Not California. When one single sector takes a hit or has a downturn, the others just act as an anchor, holding the whole economy up. It is a brilliantly stabilized multi-engine system. And what's wild is how deeply grounded in physical reality it all is. We aren't just talking about digital code and movie scripts here. We're talking about the massive ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach handling a huge share of all Asian trade entering the United States. We're talking heavy aerospace and defense research driving advanced manufacturing, billion-dollar physical crop yields coming out of the Central Valley, a massive statewide tourism industry, and clean energy initiatives that are so big they literally force global markets to adapt. The economic foundation here is incredibly physical and tangible. But that brings us to our final section, Part 5, Future Challenges and Cracks in the Foundation. Because look, every superpower has its vulnerabilities, right? And the climax of California's narrative isn't just its current dominance. It's the severe, very real stress test it is facing right now. Skyrocketing housing shortages have driven the cost of living to totally unprecedented highs, which has triggered widespread homelessness in major urban centers. Environmentally, the state is locked in this constant, exhausting battle with devastating wildfires, prolonged droughts, and of course the ever-present, unpredictable threat of major tectonic earthquakes. Add to all of that the increasing international economic competition in tech and manufacturing, and you are looking at some massive, complex problems that require serious, immediate solutions. But before we count them out, history actually offers a pretty powerful counter-narrative here. There's a great quote from our source material today that notes, "Throughout its history, the state has repeatedly transformed its economy, creating resilience that few regions can match." And it's true. Time and time again, from the gold rush to agriculture to oil to aerospace to silicon chips, California has faced massive disruptions. And its ultimate strength hasn't been its land or its tech. It's that unmatched capacity to adapt,
to use those disruptions as springboards to just build the next era of its economy.
Which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought to ponder today. Will California's superpower of reinvention actually save its future in the 21st century? Can this global architect successfully redesign itself one more time to solve its housing, environmental, and competitive crises? It's a fascinating question, and honestly, the answer is going to impact not just America, but the entire world. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this breakdown helped you grasp the true scale of the Golden State. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.